Ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new TV show review here on Max Talks Movies. Today, we're going to break down in spoiler fashion the first episode of the new HBO series, The Last of Us, which just started based off of the very highly acclaimed video games. I can't wait to talk about the show every single Monday with you guys. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews like these, movie rankings, and box office breakdown show every single week. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new to the channel, please comment down below. First of all, if you've played the games, let me know, did this live up to your expectation in the first episode? If you have not seen the games, tell me, what was your experience? Were there twists and shocks that really got you in the emotions this episode? This is a very iconic aspect of the games. Just let me know where you're coming into this game and how much you enjoyed this first episode, or maybe didn't enjoy the first episode. And please like the video, guys, the thumbs up button down below. So I've been so excited to talk to everyone about this show because if you don't know me, obviously, I love these games. I think one is just an all-time classic video game. I've played it one time and I've seen the cutscenes, I think 2 or 3 times. And obviously I played The Last of Us Part 2 and have seen the cutscenes of that 2 or 3 times. So I'm very much all in on this franchise. And to hear that HBO is doing it and Pedro Pascal, I was very excited. So the way I'm going to do this video is I will not be, because I know obviously everything that's going to happen based off of the games, that I will not spoil things that we're heading to. That is just not fair because I know a lot of people who are going to be watching the show have not played the video games. So I will obviously give Easter eggs, and I'm going to talk about the things that I picked up, especially from someone who adores these games, this franchise. But I'm not going to spoil what happens in the future. I don't think that's fair to you guys. And I'm going to do that every single week. So even if the comment section, you've seen the games, don't spoil for the people who have not been in the story before. Let them be immersed in it for the first time, because I'll tell you why, watching this first episode, I can only imagine it's been 10 years since you've really seen this opening scene redone again. And there's a lot of people like me in 2013 who saw that opening scene for the first time and was just ever more connected to these video games. And I do believe that people who watch this TV show for the first time will do so as well, because this was a fantastic pilot episode for The Last of Us, with the first 45 minutes really bring you that iconic opening scene, my favorite opening scene in a video game of all time. It is so iconic, so heartbreaking, so emotional, and it really hooks you in. So I'm going to break down spoilers of this episode only, some of the things I picked up, and so let's get into it. So we open the episode very differently, though, than we do the game. Very similar to the game, though. We are in the body, basically, of Sarah Miller, who is Joel's daughter. This is played by Nico Parker, who is the daughter of Thandie Newton, who was in Dumbo in a pretty big role. And we have Joel played by Pedro Pascal. And the episode, basically, the first half of this episode is from Sarah's perspective. I think it really immerses you. It gets you connected to Sarah. As when you first play the game or first watch the series, you're probably thinking Sarah is the main focus of the story. But if you follow the games, you know that this is not going to lead to anything positive down the road. Sarah, we kind of do a day in the life of Sarah. In the video games, we wake up with Sarah the night, basically around the time of the actual outbreak. We kind of do a day of a life. She goes to school. You see a kid twitching. We get this scene of Joel and Tommy. Tommy, who's the brother of Joel, played by Gabriel Luna. And also, before we even get to this Joel Sarah stuff, we had a new scene that was not in any of the videos. It was the scene back in the 1960s with these 2 doctors on a talk show. And one of them obviously says, if this thing happens, we lose. And it really sets up that there's no cure, there's no hope. And obviously that's why Ellie is probably the most important character in this franchise, because she obviously is bit, and she's immune to the bites. So that obviously is a great way to start the episode, because we end the episode learning obviously that Ellie is immune to these bites. So I thought that was actually a really great way to enhance the opening of the scene and give more backstory on it. So we go to 2003, is where we start with Sarah and Joel and Tommy. it's Joel's birthday. We go through this whole day. Sarah goes to school. She fixes the watch. She fixes Joel's watch, which we know is broken, and Joel keeps on it throughout the entire video game saga as well. And we see that Joel does that 20 years later when we go into that situation. So Sarah goes to fix the watch, and they close down. They're hearing stuff happening. I think one of the best parts about this opening being in 2003 is that there's no social media. So there's cops going around, there's helicopters going on, but obviously the last thing you're thinking is that there's like a zombie basically outbreak. There's this viral fungi outbreak. The idea of this reactive, flustered, just out of nowhere situation works because there's no technology, there's no social media that's really helping out these people. They're just on the run, and putting yourself in a kid's point of view, I think, is so smart, and why the game is so awesome as well. So we go through the night. Sarah and Joel start watching the movie that we know is referenced in the games as well. And this is where, different in the game, Tommy calls Joel, basically saying that Tommy got into a fight at a bar and he was arrested. That's why Joel is not there originally at the beginning of the outbreak, which we did not get in the first game. But what happens here is some really good stuff. Obviously, Sarah goes back to the neighbors. Something's going on. Something's off, obviously. And the old woman, obviously, now is, the virus has taken over her. And she tries to obviously kill Sarah. Tommy and Joel come back. And this is where, Joel kills that old woman right in front of Sarah. Sarah's kind of shook. They're all just in a loop. And it's basically what I loved about this opening scene. That was basically, once they get in the car, a shot-for-shot remake, I guess, a shot-for-shot what the video game was. And I had no problem with it. Gabriel Luna sounded just like Tommy from the video games. The way they put you from Sarah's point of view, just looking from the back seat into the madness that's going on. The production design is so special, I think, so far in this show. The look, it just feels like you're right back into the game, which I just had a blast looking at. So obviously we're going to skip through. This is a pretty long episode here, an hour and 20 minutes nearly. So we get to the big moment where Joel and Sarah, they kind of drift apart from Tommy for a couple minutes. And Joel and Sarah, and Sarah's her ankle obviously is very much injured. She can't walk. Joel picks her up. This is really the most heartbreaking scene of anything in this series, with a military officer who in every other medium is seen as hope, a positive good guy. And in this one instance, because I believe Sarah's injured, he thinks that they're infected. So he's ordered to shoot them. And as he shoots them, Joel gets kind of hit, but Sarah, unluckily dies in really Joel's arms. And this sets the tone for the whole series, and Joel's character really having no motivation moving forward. A really heartbreaking scene, which still got me chills when I watched the scene, because again, it's very similar. If you watch back to back the video game in this, it's so amazing what they did. Obviously, Neil Druckmann, who created the video game, is also one of the co-creators and writers on this show. So he obviously had a lot of input. Obviously, this is basically his baby. It really is his baby. So just like in the games, we cut to 20 years later. We go to Tess instead of Joel right away. Tess is in the situation, whatever. We skip through that whole situation, and Joel and Tess are obviously on the run, trying to get these guns, get this car, get out of this situation. I thought both pages, first of all performances, but Nico Parker, who's the lead actress of this episode, Sarah, she was really fantastic, and she made you really buy in that she was the protagonist of the show. She was the lead character, and you really fell for her because her and Pedro Pascal had such great chemistry. So I want to give Nico Parker tons of credit for a fantastic performance in this first episode, as well as Pedro Pascal, who always brings it. I'm so happy he's getting all these big roles in the most recent years. So as we move on, we also cut back to Marlene, who's the creator of the Fireflies in Boston, in the Boston area. And one of the best parts about Marlene is that she is played by the exact same actress who played Marlene in the video game. The only video game actor who come back played by Merle Dandridge, and she's fantastic. And we have Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey. All the performances I think are so good in the show so far. And honestly, the show does not tell you until the very end why Ellie is important. People are questioning Marlene, like, why are you keeping this random girl here? This is stupid. Obviously, Marlene said we need to go across, we got to go west. And this is where they run into Marlene and Ellie run into Joel and Tess. Because obviously the people who Joel and Tess are trying to get down are killed outside of the Fireflies establishment. We get this whole scene. We know Joel and Marlene have a backstory based on this conversation. And Marlene basically like, deliver Ellie and they'll give you everything you want and more. And this is obviously right away, Joel's like, I'm not doing this. Joel is like, right away, we don't have time for this. And Tess is like, we got to do this. So Joel goes with Ellie and Tess. Ellie, obviously very much a firecracker type character, curses a lot, but is such a badass as well. And Ellie, again, Bella Ramsey obviously has got a lot of controversy, not because of her, but again, Ellie is a very controversial, the fandom for Last of Us is very similar to a lot of big franchises. So you'll understand that if you're not familiar with the Last of Us fandom. But they have a great scene back and forth between Joel and Ellie. The idea of the radio, if it plays 80s music, you're in danger. I just love, again, the backstory and all of the world building that goes on in this, both the game and the show so far. So basically they're on the run, and we basically end the episode with the cop who was trading drugs with Joel is the one who tracks down Joel, Ellie, and Tess. And we get this scene where he's checking all of them if they're infected. And obviously we're going to know that, of course, Ellie, if you know the games, you know, and it's very similar to the games where they're doing that and Ellie stabs him to avoid them seeing that Ellie's infected. So right before this happens, you know, this is happening. He's clearly just turning his back, I guess, on Joel. Ellie stabs him, and then we have this big scene with, you know, stare down between this cop and Joel. And this is where, you know, in the background you hear, you know, Tess and Ellie talking about that she's got a bite. What the hell is going on? And Ellie's like, this is 3 weeks fresh. And for everyone, it takes at least 1 day at the maximum for you to become infected. And I'm not infected. I'm immune. 3 weeks. And this is where Joel, different from the game though, which I loved, Joel gets a flashback that it's not Ellie behind her, it's his daughter. And he goes through the death and all of that. And that's why Joel just unleashes on this cop, basically kills him. And Ellie's kind of like, I've never seen anyone probably protect me like that. And this is why Joel and Ellie is one of the most iconic duos of all time, is the possible father-daughter dynamic that they could have, or maybe just friend dynamic, whatever you want to put them under. It's just the beginning of it, tip of the iceberg, if you're not familiar with the games, what this Joel and Ellie dynamic will be. And then as they keep walking, we go back to Joel's place and the music goes 80s, and they're walking obviously into danger. It sets up the journey that Tess, Joel, and Ellie are going on. But overall, a fantastic way to start the show. Love the pilot here for The Last of Us. I love the game so much. This is one of the most anticipated things of all of 2023. And I'm happy that I'm going to be starting a 9-week journey with you guys here on the channel, because I will be breaking down every single episode of this series every single Monday here on this channel. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. More videos are coming soon. Upcoming either today or tomorrow will be my box office breakdown show of the previous weekend. Wednesday, you'll get my spoiler review of the new episode of The Bad Batch. Friday, you'll get my review of the new movie Missing. And then back here on Monday, I'll be doing another review, a spoiler review of the new episode of The Last of Us. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys soon.